Although there's comparisons out there, you do not need to worry about the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles turning into the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. I'll tell you why coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to this Wednesday edition of the show. I'm your host, Louie DiBiase. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. I've seen a lot of these comparisons out there over Eagles Twitter the last 2 weeks because although the Eagles are 2-0, the offense has been shaky, up and down inconsistency with the passing game. The defense had a rough start to the season against Dallas in the first half of that matchup. Even the run game, although the efficiency has been there from the offensive line, and Saquon Barkley does have, touchdowns in both matchups and is kind of in the focal point still, the face of the offense. It's been a up and down 2-0 start. So naturally, Eagles fans out there, a lot of you are getting a little bit nervous that, especially too with a new play caller, a first-time offensive coordinator coming off a Super Bowl run. Naturally, you compare 2025 to 2023, and you're wondering if that collapse could be coming again, that winning might be masking deeper-rooted issues with this team that might come back up to the surface later on in the year. And while I kind of understand the comparisons and I understand that concern, I understand completely not being satisfied with the way this football team is played despite being 2-0. That I agree with. But I do not think you have to worry about this team being the 2023 Eagles. I think the 2025 Philadelphia Eagles are nothing like that football team that started off 10-1 and collapsed down the stretch, losing 6 of their final 7 games, including the wild card matchup against Tampa Bay. I don't think that is going to be the same fate as the 2025 Eagles. I think when you look at the mindset of this football team compared to 2023, most of this football team, I think their perspective has changed. Number one, it's a completely new core, especially on the defensive side of the football. These are not the same older, aging players that dealt with the Super Bowl 57 loss, which was also hanging over their heads. And again, the age of the football team was a lot different. There were a lot of moving parts to that team. But when you look at this roster as well, another difference is the perspective of these players has either changed or it's completely different. They seem to, and I noticed this when I listen to Jalen Hurts talk now compared to a couple years ago, it feels like they've shifted their perspective about they used to have this, it feels like an unattainable standard where they were never satisfied, whether it's in loss or victory. They always were striving for more, which is a great mindset to have. Like, you can always do more to improve, and to have a championship level standard is very crucial. But it felt like that team almost took it too far, where they were miserable even when they won because they were striving for this unattainable goal. And I think it built up this added pressure, especially coming off a Super Bowl loss. So it all collapsed in 2023 down the stretch. Whereas now, when you listen to Jalen Hurts talk, when you listen to a lot of these guys, it's all about getting the win and doing what it takes and having belief that they'll figure the rest out, that no matter what, they will find a way in these games, and that it doesn't always have to be pretty, but they believe in the talent they have. And if they do lose or if they win in a certain way, it's not going to shake their resolve. It's not going to shake their confidence. That doesn't mean get complacent and believe that, winning absolves all. And that means if you win the football game, you don't have to fix anything. I think there's a balancing act that they have to find between just caring about winning versus having this very high standard for themselves. There's a middle ground there. But I think when you look at that 2023 roster, even when they were winning, again, when it wasn't perfect, I think it was making them miserable. It was adding pressure on. And they already felt like after the Super Bowl loss, there was a lot of pressure there, and it felt like they were looking ahead too much, whereas this team takes everything one game at a time, one possession at a time. They understand that the season is a process, that this isn't going to come right away. They're not going to instantly be dominant like they were at the end of 2024. It's a new football team. So I think that's a part of the reason that I'm not really concerned about this team being 2023. I think they have learned from that season. I think the players that were on that football team, that are still on this football team, have learned. And I think 2024 proved that. I think if you're nervous about a collapse, you weren't really hanging around last year. When they were 2-2 at the bye week, everybody was calling for the heads of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. And they ended up rattling off 10 straight wins, which was a franchise record, and winning a Super Bowl, completely changing who they were along the way. If that didn't show you they've learned from the collapse of 2023 and that they can overcome now adversity, I don't know where you were. You were probably living under a rock. So I get it, though. Some are probably getting nervous that winning might be masking underlying issues and an inevitable collapse. But I don't think that's coming. I don't think... Also, when you look at the issues of the 2023 football team, it's not nearly the same as this 2025 roster. In 2023, they turned the football over a lot on offense. They played horrible defense. They aged very poorly in the secondary and at linebacker. They were very banged up. The pass rush wasn't nearly as good as it was in 2022. They didn't really run the football as consistently as they had in the past. Like, sure, DeAndre Swift had over 1,000 yards, but I feel like the passing game, for the majority of that run before they collapsed, the passing game, Jalen Hurts kind of had to carry an inconsistent run game, an inconsistent defense. The 2025 football team that we're watching right now, those aren't really problems. Yeah, the pass game is the issue they need to fix, but the run game has been solid still, and Saquon has been close to springing a couple plays loose, which would put him in the 100-plus rushing yard category rather than being in the 65 to 90-yard range that he's currently at. The passing game opening up will obviously help with that. That is the issue they need to fix, but when you look at the Eagles' defense, it's on a completely different level than 2023. Right now, the Eagles' defense through 2 weeks, they've only allowed 7 second-half points in those 2 wins combined. They've allowed the second lowest opponent passer rating in all of football. They're not turning the football over at all on the offensive side of the ball. So all those issues in 2023, like, there is one consistent issue from that year that's happening now, and it's having a new, inexperienced play caller that's dealing with some issues, and the passing game definitely needs to be corrected. They have a long way to go still in that area, but like, the issues aren't the same. The roster is not the same. The personnel is completely different. The strengths of this football team, the experience of this football team, I don't know. I'm not really worried about that. Like, yeah, I'm not blind to the fact that the passing game is not good right now, and they have to fix that. They don't have to become the best passing team in football, but it's got to be better than what we've seen in the last 2 weeks to even help the run game and to get back to who you were on the ground last year and back these teams up. I mean, they're stacking the box, it feels like, every single play. But yeah, I'm not worried. I've seen that kind of comparison or analogy tossed around a lot on social media and even in my comments on YouTube and our audio podcast platforms that they could be 2023. This could be the 2023 season all over again. No, I mean, maybe they're making the same mistake with their choice of play caller as they did in 2023, but I'm not even ready to make that conclusion yet either. So I wouldn't worry about it. I think, again, this team has to find that balance of doing what it takes to win and being okay with that, but also never being satisfied and not take either side too far. Like, don't think winning absolves all, that you don't need to correct anything, but don't have this just unobtainable goal and standard that makes you completely miserable when you don't reach it, even in victory, because that is when 2023 happens. So it's kind of an interesting conversation, but I'm not too worried. I'm pretty pleased with the way this football team has gotten to 2-0. Again, outside of the passing game, I'm very excited about where this team could go, considering they've gotten 2 big wins against good teams early on in the season when you're never a finished product in September of an NFL season. Coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast, the Eagles do have another big game this Sunday. The reality of a first-place schedule. They're taking on the Los Angeles Rams, another rematch of a 2024 epic playoff matchup. And I think this is going to be potentially a preview of the NFC title in 2026. I'll tell you why. Coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is obviously Drew Makuba's game-winning interception. The Eagles are only up 13-10. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they are driving inside the 20. Kelce supposedly catches a ball that's going to score and put them up 17-13. No, the ball goes tipped up in the air. Drew Makuba is at the right place at the right time. For a ball hawk like that coming out of Texas, it felt like the ball just finds him. It did again in a big spot, and it helped the Eagles win the football game. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, like Drew Makuba getting that interception, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Guys, today's episode of Locked On Eagles is also brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season is back. And honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, being at Lincoln Financial Field, surrounded by Eagles fans, cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets, sometimes it can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time earlier before the show, and just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about Philadelphia Eagles tickets for as low as $100. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONNFL. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase of tickets. Terms apply. Again, the promo code is LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. The Eagles have gotten through two really tough matchups against a divisional rival in the Dallas Cowboys, who might be better than we thought this year. I mean, they won a shootout against the Giants, but Dak Prescott looks good through two games. The Cowboys look pesky, maybe as a wild card contender in the NFC. You got a one-score win against Dallas on the opening Thursday night matchup for the NFL season. Then a 3-point win against the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl 59 rematch. A desperate Chiefs team. You had to go on the road in Arrowhead and win that football game. You got it done. To get those two wins early on in the year, when everybody's knocking off the rust and figuring out who they are, and you have such a tough first-place schedule, to get to that kind of head start in the season is really important, especially considering the schedule, guys, is not getting really any easier, and that starts this week, Sunday at 1 o'clock. By the way, bless the football gods with a 1 o'clock game. Finally, I don't have to do my post-game show at 2 o'clock in the morning, so that's huge. But yeah, I mean, this game against the Rams is really big. I think it could be a preview of the NFC Championship. The Rams were the closest team to upsetting the Eagles in the 2024 NFL playoff run. Like, if Jalen Carter doesn't get that sack on third down, I still think that's the biggest play, maybe in Eagles history, you could say. Like, without that play, you don't win the Super Bowl. You get beaten in the second round, in the divisional round. And then what is now seen as the greatest Eagles team of all time, potentially a top 5 NFL team ever that stopped a three-peat, that story doesn't happen. Like, Jalen Carter made the play. The Rams had the Eagles on the ropes in a blizzard. They were about to score. I'll never forget that Puka Nacua catch along the right sidelines. I dropped to my knees. The 2024 Eagles will always be my favorite team of all time. And I was about to sob, losing that team in the divisional round. Thank God Jalen Carter got it done. He's going to have to do it again this Sunday against the Rams. Like, they're 2-0, and they look good. This is not a pretending 2-0 team. Kind of like I would say the Arizona Cardinals are, the San Francisco 49ers, the Indianapolis Colts. Like, no, the Rams are legit. I said heading into the season they were the second best team in the NFC. Right now, that might be Green Bay, but this could be a preview of the NFC title. Why? when you look at the Rams and why they're 2-0, Matt Stafford still looks like a top 6 quarterback in the NFL. He is PFF's number 1 overall graded quarterback through 2 games. He has a 71% completion percentage. He already has 543 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns to just 1 interception. I mean, Davante Adams has been the perfect addition to replace Cooper Kupp. Adams and Puka Nacua is a really dynamic 1-2 punch at wide receiver. Their pass rush is really good. I mean, Jared Verse was a Rookie of the Year winner last year. Kobe Turner's great on the interior, as is Brendan Fisk. Josiah Stewart, I really liked coming out of Michigan this year. He got a sack last week. Their version of Byron Young is really good. He had 3 sacks in the last 2 games. So the Rams are legit. This is a really tough matchup. It's a team that I really respect. They have a great top-tier play caller and head coach Sean McVay. Matt Stafford is the only guy I would consider that I would listen to your argument if you wanted to put him ahead of Jalen Hurts as a top 5 quarterback. Like, obviously you have Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar. I think Ertz is 5. Hurts is 5. I said Ertz. Hurts is 5. The only guy I would listen to that's not Hurts at 5 is Matt Stafford. So it's a really good football team. This is a tough challenge. But I do think that if the Eagles can stop the Rams pass rush, if they can win that strength-on-strength battle with the Eagles offensive line, which is, to me, the best in football still. I mean, Jalen Hurts has had some plays this year where it feels like he's got 10 to 15 seconds in the pocket. He's got all day. They look really good in pass protection again this year. If they can win that strength-on-strength battle against a really young, elite Rams front 4 that has, like, it feels like 5 to 6 to 7 legitimate rotational pieces in that defense. If they can stop them there, I do think even with as good as that Rams front 7 is, you can put up points against this team. I think you can run on them, and I think you can throw on them. When you look at the last 2 games they've played against the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans, so Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard were the leading running backs for Houston and for Tennessee. They both averaged a same rate of 4.6 yards per carry against Los Angeles. So teams are almost averaging 5 yards a pop on the Rams on the ground. When you look at their secondary, Ahkello Witherspoon was placed on IR. Emmanuel Forbes, statistically this year, has been one of the worst corners in football. We know that A.J. Brown has his number, completely dominated him when Forbes was with Washington. I like this matchup. Even though the Rams are a good football team, I like this matchup for the Eagles offense as a get-right game. If you can protect Jalen Hurts, and the Rams have, like I said, a really good, underrated pass rush. If you can protect him from those 5 to 6 young pass rushers, you can throw on this team, and I think you can run on them. Saquon Barkley had over 500 rushing yards in 2 games combined against the Rams. Like, he completely dominated them. I think this is a game where Saquon goes off for over 100 rushing yards. I think this is the game that A.J. Brown gets right as well in the box score. I keep predicting it, but I feel like it's got to come. I think this is the right game. The weather's going to be good too. It's going to be about 75 degrees in Philadelphia and sunny. They're going to be rocking the all-white jerseys. The first time the Eagles are wearing white at home since 2015, which is a game I don't want to remember, but it was week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys with Sam Bradford. I think this is an opportunity, though, to get to 3-0. It's a really tough matchup. Again, that big 3 on offense of Stafford, Adams, and Nacua with Sean McVay calling plays is tough. The Rams' pass rush is tough. They have some really elite things about that roster, but the Rams have some holes that the Eagles don't that you can exploit. Again, I think you can exploit that secondary. I think you can take on that run defense and gash them. And then when we're looking at the Eagles' defense, yeah, it's strength on strength for sure. I mean, that passing game is really good. The Eagles secondary is really good. Like I said, they've held quarterbacks to the second lowest opposing passer rating in all of football this year. So it's a strength on strength battle. The pass rush needs to get to Matt Stafford, but it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a really good, and I saw an interesting stat too about the Rams offense. They actually have the best explosive play to success rate ratio in the entire NFL. So when you combine explosive play rate and success rate, that ratio, you guys see those XY charts on X all the time. The Rams have the best ratio in that very important 2 categories, those 2 important categories in all of football. So they're very balanced, they're efficient, but they're also aggressive. So this is a tough battle, but I think the Eagles, They should be favored. It's at home. If you can win this game as well, I mean, man, we're talking about feeling really good about this football team at 3-0. I'm really intrigued by this matchup. And again, it's two of the three best teams in the NFC. I think it's the Eagles. I think it's the Rams. I think it's the Green Bay Packers. And yeah, like Tampa Bay looks good as well right now. I think Washington is still competitive, as is Dallas. Arizona's 2-0. Seattle looks pretty solid. So does San Francisco. Their schedule is very easy. They're going to rack up wins this year. Detroit seems like they're back after a get-right game against Chicago. I know the AFC has all the quarterbacks, but the NFC, the Eagles are still the cream of the crop, but this conference looks tough. This looks like a really good conference, and the Eagles get their real big challenge already coming in September, this Sunday against the Rams. We'll take a deeper dive into that matchup tomorrow with the guys of Locked On Rams for Crossover Thursday. But we're going to take a break. One more segment coming up for you on this Wednesday edition of Locked On Eagles. We got the Under the Radar Report coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 of bonus bets to use across the entire app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you want to play. However you want to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting. Whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, it's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. Again, you want to win $300 in bonus bets? Put $5 on an anytime Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. It's money every single week. He already has 3 rushing touchdowns this year. He had 2 against Dallas. He had 1 against Kansas City. Put $5 on it. You'll get $300 back in bonus bets. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, as we do every Wednesday, it's time now for the Under the Radar Report, where we take a deeper look at some of the unsung heroes of the past week's Eagles victory. And these guys, normally we like to talk about role players in this segment, but overall, we just want to talk about guys that didn't make the stock up list in our stock up, stock down episode that we do every single Tuesday. And for me, there were some more obvious names on the list this week. Like last week, we talked about, Byron Young and who else we talked about? Like Jalix Hunt, some of the more rotational players, not the full-time starters of the offense and the defense. Jahan Dotson was another guy. For this week, there were some big names that we're not talking about a lot that really did show up, and 2 of them were in the secondary. It was Quinyon Mitchell, and it was Cooper DeJean. I thought both of them, and yeah, it wasn't a tough matchup. Rashee Rice was out of this game. Xavier Worthy was not playing, but Quinyon Mitchell got back to being a lockdown corner. I thought he had a rough first game against Dallas, but in this matchup, he was great. He had a really clutch pass deflection in a 1-score drive in the 4th quarter that got taken away by a penalty. I thought he tackled a lot better this week. And I know that touchdown Tyquan Thornton had, Quinyon Mitchell is the one that was quote-unquote in coverage, but that was zone coverage that Reed Blankenship blew. Q had to get, that wasn't his assignment. He just has crazy 4.3, sub 4.4 speed that allowed him to catch up to Thornton and nearly make a play on the ball. I thought he was really good in this matchup. He completely shut down one side of the football field, and I think the numbers back it up. Let me pull this up. Quinyon's numbers were pretty ridiculous. And again, he would have had a forced incompletion if it wasn't for a penalty that got it called back in a big moment too. That was a 1-score game. Quinyon Mitchell against the Chiefs. 2 catches allowed, just 24 yards, 1 pass breakup. Overall, through 2 games, even though the first one wasn't phenomenal, he's allowed just 5 catches for 54 yards and 2 pass breakups. So I'm not worried about Quinyon Mitchell at all. Cooper DeJean, too. I know he got beat a couple times by Travis Kelce, but some of those open field tackles that he made just show why he's the best slot corner in football. I mean, there was one play on the left sideline when it's a 1-score game. He completely blows up a screen, shedding a couple blocks, made another really impressive open field tackle on 3rd down. I mean, Cooper and Q, like they were really good on Sunday. Made a couple big plays and big moments that went under the radar, so I had to put them in the report. And another guy on offense that we haven't really talked about a lot that's quietly been really good despite concerns about his ceiling, about his ability to be a starter, has lost out on the starting job 2 years in a row to other players at the right guard spot. But how about Tyler Steen? Tyler Steen quietly has the 6th highest grade, according to Pro Football Focus, in pass protection. He has the 6th highest pass protection grade of all right guards, of all guards, left and right guards in the NFL this year. And he's the 26th overall graded guard so far through 2 games, according to PFF. And the film backs it up. I was watching the Chiefs-Eagles game this morning back through the All-22, and Steen looks good. Like, he is taking that step, which makes that 2023 draft class like one of the best Howie Roseman's ever had, maybe the best. I mean, you got Jalen Carter out of that, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen. If the worst guys you got were Sidney Brown and Keely Ringo, solid rotational pieces on defense that are really good special teamers as well. Moro Ijoma on day 3 in the 7th round leads the Eagles in pressures so far this year with 8. He had 6 against the Chiefs, including a sack on Patrick Mahomes. And now Tyler Steen, like I said, is a really solid starting right guard, has the 6th highest pass protection grade in all of football at his position, 26th overall at his position. Hats off. It's not just Howie Roseman, but it looks like the development's paying off for Jeff Stoutland getting his hands on Tyler Steen. I think he's been very underrated, under the radar, through these first 2 wins. So those are my top 3 guys for the under the radar report. I think Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Tyler Steen didn't really get their flowers in that win against Kansas City. We didn't mention them in stock up, stock down yesterday, so had to put them in the report today. All right, guys, it's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Each and every day, Monday through Friday, we have an episode for you, plus 2 live squad shows that go for an hour every Tuesday and Thursday. 2 live post-game shows for you right after the game. Subscribe to Locked On Eagles on YouTube and wherever you get the show in audio form as well. Until tomorrow for Crossover Thursday with Locked On Rams. Until then, thank you so much for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.